Welcome to the first episode of my podcast. I don't even have a name for this yet. We're kind of just rolling with the punches. I've been practicing, contemplating, planning, figuring out what the best topics and ideas and the best frame for this podcast would be. And I realized as we're going to go in today with the biggest lessons of 2024, that there's no amount of planning and thinking and contemplating that's going to get me to take action. So sure, there is merit in, being prepared and planning and contemplating and being prepared for things. But there gets to a point where you just kind of have to do it. And the idea and the evolution and the creativity is birthed from the doing. And yeah, this is something that I've wanted to start for a very long time. Too long. But we're here now. This is officially the first episode. And I thought it was relevant for the first episode to going into the end of 2024. It's now the 27th of December. I've decided I'm going to post this podcast on the 1st of January, 2025. I thought it was only fitting to do a bit of a year in review. What's my biggest lessons learnt from podcasts, from life, from speakers, from mentors that I've learnt this year. This year has been massive. It's honestly been the most challenging year of my life in so many ways, but so profound, so impactful. And the way that I explain it is it's really just been a death. It's been a death of who I thought I was, who I was trying to be, the masks that I was putting on to the world because of my fear of not being enough and my inadequacy. It's been so uncomfortable. And there is one particular lesson that I will go through talking about this exact topic. And yeah, the truth, the challenge when you're seeking the truth is that anything that's not the truth has to die. And that becomes very uncomfortable because our ego clings on to things that we thought were truths. But in the pursuit of seeking what our truth is, we have to let go of that grip and loosen that grip and let it die. And those could be fundamental beliefs and truths that we've held on to that have got us to this point throughout our life, but are no longer going to serve us. And that can be very, very uncomfortable because, yeah, your whole reality can be turned upside down. So here we are. I'm going to go into the first lesson. That's was a big one, and a big one in a lot of different ways. But Chris Williamson, I went and saw him live. I'm going to say 6, maybe 8 weeks ago, in person. I've been following his content and his podcasts. Big fan of his podcasts for a while now, probably the last couple of years. And he's taken all his lessons learned and condensed them into one night. And all these powerful one-liners, boom lines, quotes, things that are just so impactful. And, a lot of these things I've heard on, I've heard on his podcasts and different episodes. But such a profound impact. And there was one particular line that just hit me like a ton of bricks. And it's just been a theme of this year of not wanting to, make the wrong decision, choose the wrong path, wanting to do what is right and not do what is wrong. And he was quoting someone else, but there was this particular quote that he said, he said, in life, one must choose their regrets. And it sounds so simple, right? But if you really just sit with that, I'll say it again, in life, one must choose their regrets. I think we oftentimes believe, and it's a false belief, that if we somehow control every single piece of our life, we will not have any regrets. And if we do have regrets, therefore we must have chosen the wrong path. But that's a lie. We must choose the regrets we're more comfortable living with. So if we're, sitting on our deathbed at 85 and we look back and, I'm 30 now. And if I look back and I look at a decision that I had to make now when I was 30, which regret? I was sitting I'm sitting at a crossroads. Which regret am I more comfortable living with? And it was so powerful and so profound. Well, and it's usually the regret that you couldn't live with is the one that you're scared to do the most. For me, start a podcast, start a business, go out on my own. There is all these things that I'm absolutely fearful of. But if I look back on life, I would regret not doing. And I believe we're here in life to experience all of it, the good, the bad, the full spectrum of emotions that life has to offer. And we're here in the here and now having a human experience. And we're here to live it, not to be passengers. We're meant to drive. We're meant to do the thing that life is calling us to do, that our heart is calling us to, that truth is calling us to. And that can be so challenging in so many different ways because we, again, oftentimes dull our senses, dull our heart and our intuition and really our true calling because we've got all these limiting beliefs that are stopping us from taking action. And this actually kind of leads me into the second lesson. This is a Peter Crone quote. I was chatting to an old friend, Matthias, and we were catching up. We hadn't caught up in a couple of years. It was over Zoom, and he's working with a guy named Peter Crone. And if you haven't heard of Peter, he's they call him the mind architect. He's a great human. I've had the privilege of seeing him speak a couple of times. And Matthias just dropped this banger quote, and it's from Peter. He said, "Life is about spiritual evolution, not circumstantial comfort." So I'll say it again. Life is about spiritual evolution, not circumstantial comfort. So what does that mean? Well, it means we're here, again, to experience the full spectrum of life, the full totality of life, so we can become more of who we are, spiritual evolution, right? So I believe we have a soul, we have a spirit, and again, our spirit and our soul doesn't care about our circumstantial comfort. It just wants us to be more of who we are. If we're more of who we are, we actually receive all that we want, it's a funny thing, isn't it? If we stop focusing on circumstantial comfort, of I've got to get that material thing, I've got to get that relationship, that the perfect job, the perfect everything, the external circumstantial comforts. We stop focusing on them and we start focusing on how can I be more of who I am and how can I be the best of who I am. The truth, how can I search for the truth? Then we'll actually receive all that we want, and we can stop chasing and we can just start being. And it's such a paradox, because I believe when you truly get this, and this is something that I've been like wrestling with all year, because again, I was chasing the circumstantial comforts, the things that I thought would give me the feeling that I'm looking for, the material, the money, the perfect relationship, the nice things, the experiences, all the things that I thought will give me what I'm looking for. But really, they're all just false idols. They're false gods. If we put anything above truth, anything above what I believe to be God, then they're actually just false idols. They're not actually going to get us the thing that we want. And the paradox is, as soon as we bring them off the pedestal and stop giving them so much weight, it's not that we can't want those things, but as soon as we stop giving them so much weight and we just focus on truth, the way, the truth, and the life, we focus on being more of who we are and letting go of anything that we're not, all those things will come. all those things that we can are still, again, we're still allowed to want those things. We can still, strive to live a beautiful, comfortable life with goals and ambitions and great relationships and the dream home and the job that makes you feel the most fulfilled. Like all those things, absolutely, we can still want. But there's a quote, and this is actually the fourth lesson, but it kind of leads into this, so I'll skip to it. Shane Willard, I listened to him speak live at a young professionals event at my church, and great speaker. Just again, one of those keynotes where you just can't stop writing or typing because everything's just like absolute gold and just banger. And he said something. He said, he called it the lie of the sacred object. He said, it doesn't matter if it's good. If we aren't okay without it, our life will never be good with it. So I'll say that again. The lie of the sacred object. It doesn't matter if it's good. If we aren't okay without it, our life will never be good with it. So if you think about all the external circumstantial comforts, all the material things that you strive for and that you have, and your creature comforts and all the things, if you were to imagine that they were taken away, if you weren't good without it, you're never going to be good with it. You're going to constantly be striving for more money, more status, more power, more fame, better relationships, whatever the next thing is. If you aren't okay without it, you'll never be okay with it. And that is life is about spiritual evolution, not circumstantial comfort. How can you be in any situation in life? And this is a question, right? How can you be in any situation in life and just be completely okay where you are? even if it's not ideal, and even if it's not where you actually want to be, but how can you just be there? That is that's true power. But that's what this year's been teaching me, being a very difficult and challenging year, is how can I be without all the things that I want, which are good, and still be okay. And if I can be okay without with everything taken away from me, because this is what this year's felt like for me, if I can be okay with everything taken away from me, then when those things come, yes, I'm going to appreciate them that much more, but I'm going to be okay without them. That I don't need them. I'm not idolizing them. And that can be a really hard concept to grasp, especially if that's what we've been driven by our whole lives, and especially if that's what society is really pushing, right? Society's pushing that, is pushing, you got to work harder, earn the money, get the job, do the thing. Like it's pushing hustle mentality. And again, it's not that we can't work hard. In fact, I obsess about my calling and purpose, and as soon as I get obsessive on things that I'm really passionate about. But it's the delusion that that's going to give you the feeling that you want. That's the delusion. So the next lesson is a Jordan Peterson one, and it's a quote from him. Love Jordan Peterson. But it's kind of changing gears a little bit here. Jordan says, contemplate the price you pay for your inaction. You're already in a little hell. Do not make the assumption that inaction has no cost. So, again, I'll say it again. Contemplate the price you pay for your inaction. Do not make the assumption that your inaction has no cost. We think that, and this is kind of the opposite of the last few, and this is the dichotomy of life, right? The full spectrum of what life has to offer, and sometimes the contradictions of what life has to offer. But if we think about all the things that we want to do but we're not doing, like contemplate that. Contemplate Chris Williamson calls it the anxiety cost. The anxiety cost of not doing a thing. So how many times have you woken up in the morning, you're like, oh, yep, I need to, do this, and this. And if it would have taken you 15, 20 minutes to do those three things. And if you just got them done, you wouldn't have spent the whole day, if you just got them done at the start of the day, you wouldn't have spent the whole day thinking about, oh, I need to do this, this, and this. Right? So there's this anxiety cost. There's this, it takes up mental space and mental willpower in our brain. If we just do the thing, then our brain's more free. We get to be more present and more certain, and we can actually focus on enjoying what we want to do more. But if we're, again, not doing those, if we're, how do I say this? If we just took action quicker, we would not only evolve and get where we need to go and be more of who we are quicker, more quickly, we would enjoy our time a lot more, because there is an anxiety cost to not taking action and not doing the things that we know we need to do. We know in our heart of hearts that the issue is that we numb them with social media, with, comfort foods, with overworking. We numb ourselves to what our heart knows that we need to do a lot, because life's stressful. Life sucks. Can suck. It can also be very beautiful. Life can be quite challenging. But if we actually just take away all those vices and listen to what it is we truly need to do, then we will get to where we need to go and who we need to be quicker. And this, do not make the assumption that inaction has no cost. One of my biggest fears, and again, this has been a lesson learned, and something that I've just been sitting with for the last few years, one of my biggest fears is just waking up at 75 and being like, where did that go? I wanted to do all these things. Like I had all this time. And the older I get, the more I realized that no. Like, sure, like you don't have to stress and hold on and grasp and try to control everything in life, but it's do the things, again, be in truth. What is your truth? Do the things that you know you need to do. And there is a price for not taking action. There is and it can be quite a big one. We have one life here on this earth that we know of. What price are you going to pay for all the times you just sit and not do and not take action? And this has been the biggest thing for me this year with doing this podcast. I've been contemplating and planning and practicing, and how many episodes has it cost me for not taking action? How many conversations could I have had? How much impact could I have potentially had on people if I took action sooner? We'll never know, but we're here now. So there you go. Oh, Mark Manson. I had the privilege of seeing Mark Manson live as well this year. And he's a best-selling author, amazing human, and has some great ideas and philosophies. So one of his quotes when I went and saw him live: the enemy of growth is not stagnation, but delusion. Personal growth is simply learning to lie to yourself a little bit less. Delusion. The enemy of growth is delusion. It's not stagnation. So if I think about this again, and this kind of leads to another Jordan Peterson quote and another lesson that I have down a little bit further. And you can see there's a theme here for my 2024. It's starting to come out. You know what? I'll read the Jordan Peterson quote, and I think this will tie really well in together. The pathway to who you could be if you were completely you is through the truth. And so the truth does set you free. But the problem is that it destroys everything that isn't worthy in you as it sets you free. It's painful because you cling to what you shouldn't be. I'll read it again. The pathway to who you could be if you were completely you is through the truth. And the truth does set you free, but the problem is that it destroys everything that isn't worthy in you as it sets you free. It's painful because you cling to what you shouldn't be. What just a banger of a quote and just life philosophy. Again, if you can compare to Mark Manson's, the enemy of growth is not stagnation, but delusion. Personal growth is simply lying to yourself a little bit less. And the pathway to who you could be if you were completely you is through the truth. And so the truth does set you free, but the problem is that it destroys everything that isn't worthy in you as it sets you free. It's painful because you cling to what you shouldn't be. And this is my 2024 to a T, right? How do I lie to myself a little bit less? Those little things that my ego's justifying that, that little creature, that's okay. I'll just do it a little bit less. It's fine. It's not. How do I lie to myself a little bit less? How do I see reality for what it truly is? And I really feel like we can lie to ourselves in the present moment, and we can also lie to ourselves by projecting onto the future. It's like, no, like, it's okay. I'm, in a job I hate, but, it's not that bad. I'm not following my purpose and my calling and my passions, but look, I need to be like, look, it's fine. Like, they're not even, that important. Or, these things are coming up because they're very apparent to me, but being in a relationship that you know is not right, telling yourself you're going to start that exercise routine or that diet tomorrow and you never do, or you do, but then a few days in you're kind of like, I'll just have that piece of toast, or I'll just have that that slice of pizza. It's not that bad. So you're lying to yourself. You made a promise to yourself, and every time you go against that promise, you create more and more distrust with yourself, right? Because, again, if you were to say to a friend, all right, hey, do you want to be a gym buddy? I'll see you at the gym at 9 a.m., 8 a.m., 7 a.m., whatever the time is, right? Doesn't matter about the time. But if you say, hey, let's go to the gym every morning, 7 a.m., and, they rock up at 7 a.m., but you never rock up. And then they rock up the next day at 7 a.m. and you say, no, don't worry, I'll be there. Sorry, I just slept in. And then they rock up at 7 a.m. the next day and you didn't rock up again. Right? Would you trust you? Would your friend trust your word? No, they wouldn't. Would you trust your friend if a friend did that to you? No, you wouldn't. It's the same thing with us. When we say to ourselves we're going to do something and then we don't do it, we are building further and further mistrust with ourselves to the point where we actually go, fuck it. Like, what's the point? I don't believe anything that I tell myself I'm going to do. So the lesson here for me is lying to yourself a little bit less. It's like, meet yourself where you're at. If you're in a tough situation, that can be a really bitter pill to swallow, and there can be a lot of shame and guilt and all this, self-belief and self-worth stuff that comes up. But if you just meet yourself where you're at and be like, you know what? I have been lying. You know what? I haven't been looking after my health. You know what? I am in a job that is absolutely spiritual suicide, and I'm just doing it for the money. You know what? That relationship, it hasn't been right for years. And I haven't been saying anything. And I haven't really been doing anything about it. I've been really checked out. It's not truth, That it can show up anywhere in life. And it's funny because how we do one thing is usually how we do everything, right? So it can show up in so many different areas, but if you can just stop lying to yourself a little bit less and really meet yourself where you're at, and this can be challenging and painful, but I tell you what, it's liberating if you really truly lean into it. you can then actually see yourself where you're at, not from a delusional perspective, but from a truth perspective, and go, okay, these are the small steps I'm going to start to take. And then you start to take them, right? We take small little steps. It might be waking up at 6 a.m. every morning and having a glass of water. It might be, instead of saying to yourself, yeah, I'm going to go from not working out for 2 years, I'm going to go from that to 6 sessions straight in the gym, smashing weights. It's like, well, how about you start just walking? How about you get up and go for a morning walk? And then, if you feel like it, maybe do some push-ups. And then maybe this is a good time to start some gym. Drink a little bit less, eat a little bit more healthy. Start small. It's the small little consistencies that compound over time that create success, that create the results you're looking for. And this is the piece. It's not about the outcome. It's not about the goal. It's about the person you become in the pursuit of the outcome, in pursuit of the goal, right? So just stop living in delusion. And we all do it, Again, this year's been the veil falling from my eyes, not being able to unsee what I see, and it's tough. It's painful. It's not for the faint-hearted. That's for sure. All right, next one. Oh, my man crush, Alex Hormozi. Quote from him: ask the girl, shoot the shot, launch the business, run the ad, quit the job, take the risk. When you're 85 years old and on your deathbed, you're not going to wish you had fewer crazy stories. That's just it. That, the last few lessons that we've been chatting about, like, do the thing that you want to do. Do the thing that's scaring the shit out of you. Do the thing. Like what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? You're going to wake up at 85 like that and look back and go, where did that go? I had all these things that I wanted to do. Do the thing. Stop waiting. You know what you need to do. And I'm saying this, I'm speaking to a mirror. But what a banger quote. Ask the girl, shoot the shot, launch the business, run the ad, quit the job, take the risk. When you're 85 years old and on your deathbed, you're not going to wish you had fewer crazy stories. Done. Just mic drop. Nothing else needed for that one. This is an interesting one. It's actually also an Alex Hormozi quote. There is no greater waste of time than justifying your actions to people who have a life you don't want. So, on the path that's less traveled, people are going to look at you traveling on that path and there will be a sense of judgment that's inevitable because they're not doing the thing, taking the risk, taking the action that you are, and it's going to bring up that in them. So people will try to steer you in a different direction, try to, try to support you in living a life that they're living so they can feel more comfortable about themselves. And the thing is that if, again, the general rule that I have, and it's not always the case, but because there is exceptions to this rule, but the general rule I have is if anyone's trying to give you advice and they have a life that you don't want, like, listen to it with a grain of salt. Like, don't take it too seriously, because they're not qualified to give you advice about your life, because they don't have the life that you want to live. You know, they're not the person that you want to be. And it's not that we don't, it's not that you can't listen to advice or listen to people's perspectives and opinions, because sometimes we do have blind spots, and, you know, we do have, you know, things that, again, we can be delusional about. It's not that you don't listen, but if they're not the type of person that you want to be, then take that advice with a grain of salt. Do not, just be very careful on whose advice you listen to. Yeah, it's as simple as that. And you do not need to justify the life that you're living to people who don't have the life that you want, because they have the life that they want, because that's their life. That's the life that they want. But you have your life that you're creating and that you want. And it's okay that it's different to theirs. And it is a waste of time and a waste of energy trying to justify that to people who just won't get it. And that's okay. And there's no judgment towards them. There's no malice. There's no, we can still be friends. It's, you know, there's still love there. It's just, I think we spend a lot of time trying to justify the reasons we are who we are, instead of just being who we are. That's a piece. And the next lesson, the next quote. Yeah, this is beautiful. Timothy Leary, the psychonaut, who was, I think it was 1960s or 1970s. He was a part of the, you know, a sort of hippie psychedelic revolution. But this quote that I heard, and I can't remember where I heard it, but no, it was, yeah, I think Chris Williamson brought it up. But Timothy Leary, what a banger quote. All right, here we go. Admit it. You aren't like them. You're not even close. You may occasionally dress yourself up as one of them, watch the same mindless television shows as they do, maybe even eat the same fast food sometimes. But it seems that the more you try to fit in, the more you feel like an outsider, watching the normal people as they go about their automatic existences. For every time you say club passwords like "have a nice day" and "the weather's awful today, eh?" you yearn inside to say forbidden things like "tell me something that makes you cry," or "what do you think deja vu is?" Face it, you even want to talk to that girl in the elevator. But what if that girl in the elevator and the balding man who walks past your cubicle at work are thinking the same thing? Who knows? You might learn from taking a chance on a conversation with a stranger. Everyone carries a piece of the puzzle. Nobody comes into your life by mere coincidence. Trust your instincts. Do the unexpected. Find the others. Woo! I'm getting goosebumps reading that out. You yearn inside to say forbidden things like, "tell me something that makes you cry," or "what do you think deja vu is for?" You yearn inside. And it's do the unexpected, find the others. This, again, this is my 2024. Admit it, you're not like them. You're not even close. Admitting that I am a little bit unusual. I'm not normal. I do want extraordinary things for myself and for my life. I want to make extraordinary impact. I want, you know what it is. It's less even about the impact, although that is part of it. It's like I want to live a life of truth, and I'm searching that life. I'm searching for that truth in life constantly. And the challenge is, just as we said in the earlier Jordan Peterson quote, the challenge is when you're constantly searching for the truth, everything that's not the truth needs to die. And the more closer to the truth you get, the more untruth you realize that you're clinging on to. So you're constantly letting go, constantly. And it's tough and it's challenging and it's not for the faint-hearted. But there is other people out there that are like you. There is people that are seeking the truth. There is people that, again, that, like, I believe everyone underneath it all wants truth, wants deep, impactful connection. Not the club passwords, the club passwords of, have a nice day, or the weather's awful, or wow, it's awfully hot today. Like, that ain't it. That's not how I believe we're meant to connect. We're meant to have deep, meaningful connection and conversation, and with that comes laughter and banter and all the fun things along the way. But find the others that you connect with. Don't settle for people in your life that, you, again, not with judgment, not from a place of judgment, just from a place of discernment and truth, that you feel you're not aligned to. And this is the issue of the lonely chapter. Well, this is the challenge of the lonely chapter. Peterson and Hormozi speak about it. The issue is, if you're wanting to achieve extraordinary things and you're wanting to live more and more in truth and more on your path and in alignment and in flow, if others around you aren't following that path and they're deciding to stay in untruth and deciding to stay in delusion, the challenge is that there's going to be multiple chapters where you've outgrown your current set of friends, but you probably haven't developed or let go enough or gathered enough resources to find your new set of friends. So you're sitting in this lonely chapter, where it can be hard, it can be challenging. You can mostly be by yourself. It can be quite lonely. And I've experienced the lonely chapter multiple times throughout my life, and I'm only 30. And it's tough because, one of my biggest values is growth and evolution and learning. And it can be hard, right? It can be hard for me. It can be hard for the people around me as well. And I empathize when you're constantly contemplating and thinking and wanting to know more and learn and grow and do these things. It can be exhausting for people who just want a stable, peaceful life. They just want to do their thing. And that's okay. There's no judgment. But again, it's very challenging. It can be very challenging. That lonely chapter, that chapter in between. But that's where you can find, people and mentors in your life. You can watch podcasts, you can read books, you can find the people during that lonely chapter that are going to support you to become the person you are. Because I feel like a lot of life is actually less about learning more and more about unlearning what you've learned. That's no longer resourceful. It's got you so far, but it's no longer resourceful. So this is actually the whole theme of 2024 for me, is unlearning what has got me to a point, but is now no longer useful. It's letting it go. And that can be the driver of not being enough, right? So that was definitely one of my primary wounds, in the last 10 years, of why I've been so driven to be successful, is I don't feel like I'm enough. Therefore, I need to prove that I'm enough by learning, growing, being around the best in the business and, in the industry and in the personal development space, so I can be the better person, work out, eat healthy, do the thing. So like all these external things that you kind of need at the beginning, because you don't have anything. You've got no skills, knowledge, and experience in the beginning when you're starting your journey. So you kind of need that. You kind of need to learn all the things. But there gets to a certain point where you go through it and you need to actually let go of nearly all of it, right? Like it's like, I've gotten to a certain point, and that wound of not feeling like I'm enough is no longer serving me. It's actually becoming toxic. So I need to let it go. I need to unlearn that. So now I can move forward from a place of moving towards something instead of moving away from. So I was moving away from not being enough. It's a move away from motivation. Now I need to lean into moving towards something else. So I need a different motivator. I need to let go of all those limiting beliefs that, again, they helped and they kept me safe in a lot of ways. And sometimes they didn't help, and they were extremely toxic and, maybe created some trauma and got me into situations where I shouldn't have been otherwise. So I need to let go of all that. We need to unlearn so we can actually just be more of who we are. Being more truth, and like that's it. And it's not like from a place of judgment and resistance to what is. It's just, here I am. This is reality. Letting go of delusion. This is reality. I'm lying to myself a little bit less. This is reality. I need to let go of all the things that are no longer serving me. Yeah, there we go. Oh, next one. This one's good too. Dr. Bill Plotkin. It's a quote from a book I was reading earlier this year. Physical death is only one form of dying. There are other forms. Let me start again. Physical death is only one form of dying. There are other forms of dying. We die whenever fear governs our choices. We die when we sacrifice growth for security. We die when we choose a convenient certainty over an inconvenient mystery. Banger quote. Just, in so many ways, just yes. Just, again, this sums up my 2024. Physical death is only one form of dying. There are other forms of dying. We die whenever fear governs our choices. We die when we sacrifice growth for security. We die when we choose a convenient certainty over an inconvenient mystery. This is it. That right there. Every time we let fear dictate our choices and the decisions we make in life, we die. Our spirit, it just gets shoved down a little bit more. It's spiritual suicide. We die when we sacrifice growth for security. Every time we go, I really do want to follow that passion and that calling and like, that God's placed on my heart, but I need the money. So I'm just going to, I'm in a good paying job. It's okay. Like, I do enjoy it. There's good people. I'm just no. Spiritual suicide. We die when we choose a convenient certainty over an inconvenient mystery. Again, like, where are you playing small? Where in life are you staying in a convenient certainty? Because it's what you know. It's the devil you know instead of the devil you don't. It's the people will choose suffering over uncertainty. People will choose suffering over uncertainty. Like, how do you live? And, and we all do it. But this is really what I'm trying to let go of. Like, I can't, again, once you see, you can't unsee. So the thing about awareness and consciousness is once you open the door, you turn on the lights, you see the skeletons in the closet, you can't unsee now. So now it's your responsibility to deal with the skeletons, deal with the things that are stopping you from playing small, deal with those things, because if you try to shove them down now, it's going to create a shit ton of suffering in your life and can become unbearable. So this path of awareness and becoming more of who you are and all that, it's not for the faint-hearted. In fact, it's not easy. It's painful. But it's like, what pain would you rather live with? A pain where you wake up at 85 and you realize that you were just coasting through life on autopilot and you've got all these regrets behind you that you can't live with? Or the pain of taking the path less traveled, going through and doing the hard things, seeing the skeletons in the closet and taking them out instead of leaving them in there and pretending like they're not there. I just can't not look at the thing and just do it. Again, once the veil falls from the eyes, you just can't unsee. You can't unsee. You can't unsee what you know. And we can pretend for so long, and we can ignore it, and we can shove it down, and we can numb ourselves with stress, social media, Netflix, drugs, alcohol, socialization, even more healthy things like, calling, purpose, work, working out. Like, we can numb ourselves with all of that. But we die. It's spiritual suicide. So yeah. Dr. Bill Plotkin. Oh, second last one. Ram Dass. Start from where you are. Allow yourself to be where you are. Stop judging yourself so much, putting yourself down so hard. Stop trying to force yourself into models of how you think you ought to be. Just be where you are. Again, just 2024 to a T. Like, all these lessons are like, how can you just be where you are? Stop living in delusion. Stop lying to yourself a little bit less and just realize that you are in the position that you are. Don't judge yourself. It's accept yourself exactly where you are without judgment, without worrying about what others are going to think of you, and just be there. Just sit in that. And the next step will come. Take one foot in front of the other. The problem with high performers and people who want to create exceptional lives is they compare themselves against the top 1% of the 1%. This is the reason why I believe I took so long to start a podcast, is because I'm comparing myself against people like Chris Williamson, Joe Rogan, like all the great podcasters that have been doing hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of hours of podcasting and speaking. And I'm comparing myself against them. And I haven't even done one episode. So stop putting yourself down and judging yourself so hard. Stop trying to force yourself into models of how you think you ought to be. Just be where you are. You are where you are, and let it go. Let everything else go. And the more you step into truth, the more you stop clinging on to how you ought to be, the control of who you are and ought to be, and just like loosen the grip and just be here now. The truth becomes so clear. Aim up. Aim towards the truth. Let go of anything that's no longer true. And you'll be there. The last one is actually a Bible verse. Matthew 7:7-8. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Oof. Getting goosebumps. Again, this is such a powerful Bible verse in so many different ways. And the reason why this one came up as a 2024 lesson was because, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be open to you. If in your heart you ask, if in your heart you seek, if in your heart you take action and knock on the door that needs to be knocked on, it will all be given to you. You'll find it. The door will be open that needs to be opened. In your heart, not what your head thinks, not what society thinks, not what you think you have to be, or what you think you want. Like, what's your heart want? What's the truth? It will all be given to you. The caveat and the clincher in 2024 for me is that yes, it may all be given to you. You may find what you're looking for, and the door may be opened that you've knocked on, but maybe just not in the way that you think. That's it. That's my 2024 year in review, biggest lessons learned. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. If you made it this far, I really, really appreciate you listening to my first ever episode of the podcast. We will find a name. I'll be releasing these more and more often and more regularly. And if you liked it, please do share. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And have an amazing 2025. This year will be the year that you make it, and lean into those lessons. Choose the regrets that you're more comfortable living with, and have fun along the way. Love you lots. Appreciate all the support.